Hey Bears fans, before we get into today's video, I need to hit 25,000 subs before the NFL draft. We're less than 4 weeks away, but we're less than 700 subs away. I think we can get there with you guys' help. Hit that big red button and subscribe. We're going to continue to plug out daily videos for you guys around the draft, free agency, news, rumors, whatever it is. We're going to cover it here on Chicago Bears Now. And help me out. Spread the word. Send that link to a friend of yours, youtube.com/BearsNow. You're watching Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Harrison Graham. Let's go ahead and get into a rumor surrounding the Chicago Bears and a little bit of a news item as well. Did the Bears upgrade at quarterback? I'll give this 3 smoking J's, which means it's pretty likely. I do think it's pretty likely. This, of course, comes at the hands of Ryan Pace, who talked about the signing of Andy Dalton during the Bears press conference on Friday. And, he said a few things about it, saying, Andy fits our style of offense. He expanded as well. Then ESPN's Jeremy Fowler actually reported that Bears coaches were thrilled when they landed Andy Dalton in free agency, who, of course, they settled for after missing out on a Russell Wilson trade. Now, when I say that it's pretty likely they upgraded at quarterback, that's not me saying, clear upgrade. This is a monumental move for Chicago. What I'm saying is, I think he's better than Nick Foles, and I think he's probably a little bit better than Mitchell Trubisky. That doesn't mean much, though, right? If he's 10% better than what you had, you haven't, improved enough where it's a monumental difference. Here's what Pace had to say as well, expanding on this. He said he can handle the drop-back game, he can handle the RPOs, the play actions, the movements, and we just felt as we went through those free agent quarterbacks, he's one of the more complete quarterbacks that we evaluated in free agency. What are my thoughts? I think Dalton is a minor upgrade. I think maybe he can win you an extra game that a Mitchell Trubisky or a Nick Foles couldn't last year. End of the day, I don't think that's anything substantial. You're still a team that's going to rely on defense and running the football, and it's hard to win that way in today's NFL when you come down to it. So I don't think Pace and Nagy are being completely honest when they're acting like they've made some monumental jumps here at quarterback. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Andy Dalton will come out, he'll ball out, and this team will put up 27, 28 points per game. I doubt it. There's not a lot of evidence suggesting that will happen, but I think he's an upgrade, but I think he's a pretty insignificant upgrade at the end of the day. Who's the better quarterback? Type AD for Andy Dalton, type MT for Mitchell Trubisky. Let's hear from you guys. I think this will be pretty split. AD for Andy or MT for Mitchell Trubisky. I want to know from you guys who you think the better quarterback is. Now, Jeremy Fowler, who said the Bears coaches were thrilled, had this to say as well, saying, quote, "I'm told inside the building there with the coaches that they are thrilled with the Dalton pick because when it came to free agency, they broke down all the potential starters. They think that just capable play with Dalton can really elevate them to a new level." Here's the problem with this, because that line especially tells me, hey, we think with our defense and our running game that we can, kind of grind out some wins as long as Andy Dalton doesn't turn the football over. Here's the problem. In today's NFL, in 2020, 2021, good offense beats good defense now. This isn't the 1985 Bears, and this isn't 1985 in general where you can say, hey, we're going to feed Walter Payton 30 times a game. We're going to have the best defense in the NFL, which, by the way, the Bears don't. They have a good one, but not the best. And we're going to win games 13-10. We're going to win that way. It's hard to win games like that in today's NFL. You might win a game here, a game there doing that, but you got to score at least 25 points per game to be a legitimate top-flight playoff team, and that's been the challenge for the Bears the past couple of seasons as they've been, 20, 21 points per game. And those 3 or 4 points, 5, 6 points, that makes a big difference in being a really good team and kind of a middle-of-the-pack team. I'm not saying defense isn't valuable, but I'm saying I don't think the slight upgrade that Andy Dalton probably is over the combination of Trubisky and Foles, I don't think it's significant enough to be like, okay, this is an 8-8 team the past 2 years, really good defense, well below average offense. Now this is going to be a 10, 11, 12 win type of team on a 17-game schedule. I just don't view it that way. And by the way, I think the defense on paper is probably a little bit worse, especially since you lost Kyle Fuller. I think Sean Desai will help as the new DC, but all in all, I can't sit here and say I'm thrilled, even though apparently the Bears coaching staff was when they signed Andy Dalton. So what do you think? 8 wins the past 2 years. The Bears will win blank games in 2021. Go ahead and fill in the blank for me and give your thoughts on this one. Hey, Bears fans, I want you guys to do me a favor. Go ahead and follow us on the Newsbreak app. How do you do that? Here's what you got to do. Go to chatsports.com/BearsNB. Use that link. It really helps support the show. And then download the Newsbreak app. And once you've done so, search Bears Now. It'll pop up. It'll say Bears Now by Chat Sports. And hit that follow button. We're at like 80, I think 74 follows on Newsbreak right now. Some of our Bears video content will be over there. We'll have some original videos over there at some point as well. So a little bit of an incentive if you want more videos from yours truly here on Bears Now. Go to that link, chatsports.com/BearsNB, and then search Bears Now and give us a follow. Other things Newsbreak offers, if you're in the Chicago area or whatever your local area is, you can find local news and weather. You can keep up with politics if that's your sort of thing. And then all kinds of sports content, including videos here from Chicago Bears Now. Plus, you can find a bunch of Bears articles, which will have more news and rumors as well from other authors. So it's a good app. It's a company we've partnered up with. So follow us by going to chatsports.com/BearsNB. Search Bears Now, and you can find all the great things that Newsbreak has to offer. Let's talk Russell Wilson trade rumors here on Bears Now by Chat Sports, because it's the rumor that just keeps on giving. Chris Mortensen of ESPN, he's now talking about it, saying trade talks could heat up again between the Bears and the Seahawks. And as you guys know, and as we've discussed repeatedly, that Adam Schefter, he basically has tripled down on this, quadrupled down, saying there's still drama between Seattle and Wilson. Don't count the Bears out of a Russell Wilson trade. Mortensen also said that, and this is something Schefter has said, this is something that Mike Tannenbaum has said, that if Seattle can land Sam Darnold, which is not something the Bears can provide, they can't provide a quarterback for the future since they have the 20th pick, but if they could get Sam Darnold from the Jets, this becomes more likely for the Seahawks to consider moving on from Russell Wilson to a team like the Chicago Bears. Hey, Mort flat out said it. Russell Wilson and the Bears are not totally off the board. So the drama continues. The drama never ends when it comes to the Bears and quarterbacks, and especially Russell Wilson. And we're going on, 6 weeks now, 7 weeks now? We know the Bears have made a substantial offer of 3 first-round picks, a third, and a couple of defensive players, it sounds like. Kyle Fuller may have been one of those players. He obviously is no longer with the Bears organization, but hey, the rumor's still out there. Notable people are saying it, like Adam Schefter, now Chris Mortensen, Mike Tannenbaum. These are people who are connected with the league at a very, very high level. So we continue to discuss the possibility of Russell Wilson to the Chicago Bears. What I want to know from you guys is, are you ready for this to end? Is it time to give up on the Wilson dream? Because as long as Schefter and these guys keep talking about it, it's kind of just teasing you Bears fans. So I want to know, why for yes and for no, is it time to give up on the Russell Wilson pipe dream? Go ahead and get your votes in. My take, no harm in trying until the draft comes, right? Because, look, if the draft is here and you don't have Russell Wilson, you need to heavily consider taking one of these quarterbacks in the draft, whether that means trading up, whether that means taking someone in the second round like a Kyle Trask or someone else. You guys know I don't want Kellen Mond, but, the Bears would have to consider that at that point. But until the draft comes and goes, there's no harm in continuing, to check in with Seattle if you're Ryan Pace and saying, hey, what's the deal? You guys set with Russ for the next few years, or is a trade still on the table potentially? And, hey, it's not like signing Andy Dalton should prevent you from trying to secure Russell Wilson and trading for him at the end of the day. So I get it. It's frustrating. It makes your brain muddled together because you're like, can this just end? I don't want false hope out there, but maybe it's not false hope. If reputable sources continue to throw this out there, you at least have to acknowledge that it's a slight possibility. That's why it's the one smoking Jay. It's barely true, but it's not fake news. It could happen. So that's where we're at with Russell Wilson. We'll continue to explore this here on Chicago Bears Now. Let's talk Matt Nagy now. I was out of town over the weekend, so I wasn't able to break down the press conference that he and Ryan Pace had. And, of course, the big one coming out was that he acknowledged that he will call plays in 2021, which Bears fans freaked out over this because, of course, Bill Lazor finished 2020 as the play caller and did some okay things with Mitch Trubisky. I think he got a little exploited against the two good teams, just like Trubisky did against the Packers and the Saints over the Bears' final 2 games. But the simple fact of the matter is, this should surprise no one. Like, if you're surprised by this move that Matt Nagy is going to retake play calling in 2021, you're just not paying attention. Guys, Matt Nagy is entering 2021 on the hot seat. He is taking matters into his own hands. Matt Nagy is saying, hey, if I'm going to sink or swim, I'm gonna sink calling plays myself. I'm not going to put it in Bill Lazor's hands. I'm not going to put it in John DeFilippo's hands. I'm going to call the plays, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I took matters into my own hands, and I gave it my best shot. You shouldn't be surprised by this one bit. How upset are you that Matt Nagy has said he will call plays? Scale it from 1 to 10, 1 being not sad or not upset at all. I think this is the best route. 10 being this is horrible. This is an awful decision. I'm indifferent because, hey, if I was a head coach on the hot seat and I felt like I gave my team the best chance to win by calling plays, I would do the same thing. So can't really knock Nagy. But get your votes and scale it from 1 to 10. And again, just to reiterate the point, it's do or die time for Nagy. And, of course, Ryan Pace as well. You got to produce this year. And if you believe in your heart of hearts that you give this team the best chance to do that, then you got to do what you got to do. And I'd rather sink doing it myself than passing it along to someone else. That's just my philosophy as well, and that's what Nagy's doing here. He's saying, hey, I'm taking matters into my own hands, baby. It may not work, but I'm going to call the plays because I think I can make it work with Andy Dalton or anyone else. We'll obviously see what happens once the season gets here, but Matt Nagy, he's going to call plays in 2021, and it's going to be very fascinating, which is why you should subscribe. It's going to be a wild season this year.